So I wanted to shoot a video and I wanted to talk to you about what I eat in a typical day. And so sitting right here in front of me is basically my normal daily diet. So I'm going to kind of go through each one of these items. I'm going to pick them up, show them to you, talk about the calories, the amount of saturated fat, things like that. The main thing that I'm trying to do when I'm eating is make sure that my polyunsaturated fat, my vegetable oil is extremely low, and that my saturated fat intake is relatively high. So we go through so much butter now, and this is only about a third of what it looks like, but I found this at Publix. It's called Amish roll butter, and so it's a log of butter that's this big around, and it's about 3 times that long. So this was from 2 weeks ago. So in my household, we've eaten that much butter. Also interesting, although my wife's not weighing herself and she's gorgeous and tiny, I've noticed she's been losing weight too, and she's not really following this per se, but she's eating a lot more of this food because that's what we're cooking in the house. So anyway, Amish roll butter. I'll talk about what we use it in. These are the croissants that I buy. These are basically from Walmart. They're Market Fresh is the brand. All butter croissants. One of these bad boys has 230 calories, and it's loaded with saturated fat, not made with any vegetable oil, and they're delicious. So this is what I make my sandwiches with that I have for breakfast every day. So I use one of these, 230 calories, loaded with saturated fat, and then this is the roast beef from Walmart, cheap, 7-ounce package. Divide this into 3. That's why I use 2.3 ounces per sandwich, just because this makes 3. And then Swiss cheese, again, Walmart brand, it's cheap. We're on a budget. So I make ground beef. I cook 2 pounds of this every Saturday. So this is the grass-fed, no hormone ground beef. I prefer that because when it comes to getting your fat from animals, you want something where they're fed a more natural diet and that it's hormone free. So this is what I normally buy. I have been known to buy just straight 80-20 in a larger package. It goes a little bit further, but this is what I prefer to buy, and this is what I buy most often. The other works fine too, though, as far as it's just, I think this is a healthier option. And I know everybody's thinking like, this guy's eating all this fat and it's healthy. It is. I drink a cup of bone broth every morning with my breakfast, and this is Sam's Choice organic bone broth, and it's chicken, and there's a reason it's chicken. There's no polyunsaturated fat in this, but chicken bones have a lot more surface area, so you're going to get more of the stuff that's good for your gut lining out of a chicken bone broth than you will from a beef bone broth. And this is relatively inexpensive. I think it's like $2.39. So you're going to get 4 servings out of this. So this is almost a week's worth, or 5 days worth. I make a smoothie every morning during the week, Monday through Friday. The smoothie the recipe I'm about to give you makes 2. So I put 6 ounces of orange juice. It really doesn't matter the kind. This is what I happen to buy this time. Tropicana, again, Walmart. And then this is Nudson's Just Cranberry. It is unsweetened cranberry juice. And so there's 6 ounces of orange juice and 4 ounces of this cranberry juice in there. Then there's 3 ounces of fresh baby spinach. I keep my baby spinach in the freezer because it crushes down. You can basically fill the nutribullet all the way to the top, and you can crush it down to about that deep, and then you can put the 6 ounces of OJ and the 4 ounces of cranberry juice on top. And then I put in, this is Brad's Fire in a Bottle Metabolic Flexibility Oil. This is straight stearic acid. So this is a long chain saturated fat, and it is a powder that looks about like fine flour. I put 3 tablespoons of this in the smoothie. So that smoothie, I drink half of it for breakfast. It's a small serving. It's probably with the juice, the spinach, and the stearic acid, it's probably about maybe a 7-ounce serving. So it's not huge, not a ton of fructose, you know, because I'm only getting 3 ounces of orange juice and 2 ounces of cranberry juice in one serving, and then the stearic acid and then the spinach. The reason I do that is just for some nutritional insurance. It's not, I don't think it's required, although I do think this is something that would be good to incorporate into a smoothie daily if you can. But I didn't do this at first, and I still lost a ton of weight. So another one, these little dark chocolate squares, and they don't have to be these Ghirardelli fancy ones. I just picked these up because they were on sale. These are awesome, loaded with stearic acid, saturated fat. Chocolate is a good source. A couple of squares of these during the day if I ever run into a time where I'm getting hungry. Sometimes I will eat a square or two of this immediately after or immediately before a workout when I'm going to the gym, because it might have been a few hours, 2-3 hours since lunch. And I make mashed potatoes. I make mashed potatoes out of about 5 of these every Sunday, and that's where the butter goes. And then I didn't get it out of the fridge, but you know what cream cheese looks like. So a whole 8-ounce package of cream cheese and a full stick of butter. We also have sticks of butter. I buy the Kerrygold. And take a fish oil supplement. It's not always the same one. This is the one that I'm taking now. I like it. Relatively inexpensive. It's not the cheapest one you can find, but there's a reason. It's a little bit better quality. I think you need to be a little bit choosy about the fish oil that you take it. But anyway, I don't know that you need a whole lot of this. I take 3 of these a day, 1 in the morning, 2 with dinner. And then almost every night, one of these bad boys, Haagen-Dazs. So this is chocolate. That's my go-to. And if you can see here, this is 850 calories in this pint. So one of these usually every evening, a couple hours after dinner. That is a normal day of eating. Now, I didn't include dinner because it changes every day, so I don't have the ingredients sitting in front of me. But as an example, my wife made beef stroganoff tonight, so we had some pasta noodles. We had some ground beef left over from a party where we had burgers, and she just put the ground beef and the pasta noodles together. She put in, I think, 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream, a bunch of mushrooms, a couple of bouillon cubes. She said the recipe called for Worcestershire sauce, and she didn't have any, so she used oyster sauce. Not sure that those flavors are the same, but whatever it was she did, it tasted amazing. It was fantastic. I told her, I said, write down what you did, because this is the best beef stroganoff I've had. So I'm going to make that into a recipe. So I will, in the future, share individual recipes. I can smell it right now. My wife just baked a loaf of banana bread that she bakes pretty much about every week to 10 days. She bakes a loaf of it. It's got a whole cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips in it. It's got a bunch of butter. I'm not sure the amount. I've got the recipe for it though. Bananas, and of course the flour, and I put like 3 tablespoons of flax meal in it just for a little bit of extra fiber. And some people say, well, you're getting a little bit of polyunsaturated fat with that. I think that the main culprit for polyunsaturated fat is refined industrial seed oils, which is what you find in packaged foods and what you find in those clear jugs of oil at the grocery store. I think when you get the oil in its natural state and you're only getting a little bit of it, like inside of an actual nut or inside of an actual flax meal or something like that, there are protective compounds in the plant that keep the oils from oxidizing, and that's the main reason plant oils are horrible for you as far as metabolic disorders, as far as obesity, weight gain, precursor to type 2 diabetes. I see a bunch of these really, really good videos on YouTube that are basically explaining all the science behind why polyunsaturated fat is bad for you. It turns out that a bunch of those are also on the low carb train, and I don't get it. I don't know how they can the science, they can use science to support that. And the reason I say that is there's so many cultures around the world that don't have metabolic disorders that are predominantly 80% of their diet is carbs, starch, like a lot of the Asian countries, just massive amounts of, and it's refined too. They don't eat massive amounts of brown rice. They eat white rice over there. My wife's Asian. Believe me, the rice cooker light is almost all, it's not on now, but it's almost always on in our house. So there's a lot of rice around here. So I think, and I heard somebody explain it like this, polyunsaturated fat, as far as disease states, precursor to all these modern diseases that we didn't used to have, heart disease, high blood pressure, obesity, type 2, basically diet-induced diabetes, that polyunsaturated fat is the hammer that bangs this disease state into us. And then they were saying that sugars and refined carbohydrates were the nail. And I think that that's true. I think if you eat sugars and refined carbohydrates with a bunch of polyunsaturated fat, it's like a 1-2 horrible punch. I mean, it's just going to really, really mess you up. I think once you get the polyunsaturated fat out of your diet or down to an extremely low level, I don't see that the carbs make that much of a difference. I don't see it in me. Now, if you're in a bad metabolic state and you've been over consuming polyunsaturated fat for years and years and years, which is like most Americans. I mean, they're saying that probably most Americans, 20 to 30% of their daily calories comes from polyunsaturated fat. That's horrific. At the turn of the century, I mean, they have biopsies of human cells, and they know what the fat content of a person was in 1900, and the fat content was, polyunsaturated was 2%. Now biopsies routinely show up 20, 30, sometimes even higher percent polyunsaturated fat. So we are 15 times as much polyunsaturated fat inside of our bodies as it used to be. And all that oxidative stress from those end products, from those polyunsaturated fats, is the precursor to all the inflammation, which is the precursor to all the oxidative damage, which is the precursor to all the bad metabolic states. So I'm going to tell you why I'm so pro about this thing is because I've done them all. I mean, I've done strict keto for long periods of time. I was vegan for a full year, and nothing I have ever done stripped the body fat off of me, and the food was this good. Now, when I competed in bodybuilding 20 plus years ago, I got the body fat off, but it was just through, I jokingly say I used to eat wood and rocks, chicken breasts that had been patted with a paper towel to take any oil off of them, tuna in a can that was strained, egg whites with no yolks, sweet potatoes with nothing on them. This was probably massive bowls of broccoli. Steamed broccoli with no, hardly any seasoning, quite a few baked potatoes with not much on them, and that worked, but it's no way to live. I mean, it's like the joke about old school bodybuilders, chicken and rice, man, chicken and rice. Well, anyway, I don't want to do that. I'd like to enjoy life, and like I said, I'm doing this and the body fat has just melted off. It was crazy, especially the first month. Like, I couldn't believe, I've lost weight on other things before, but it didn't all just happen to shrink right off the middle. It was like I went from a size 36 pants to a size 34 in like the first month. And then over like the next month and a half, I went down to a size 32, and I'm wearing 32 pants now, and they're loose. And I've been in size 36 pants for probably 18 years, somewhere around there. So, maybe there were times when I'd lost a few pounds and the 36s fit a little bit loose, but they were never falling off of me. Now I can't wear. They just look like, my wife jokes and says you don't look right in those. So anyway, I'm going to pause right here, and I'm going to come right back because I'm going to put some of this food that needs to be in the fridge away. So anyway, that is an idea of what I eat in a typical day. What I have altogether totals up normally to now right at around 2,900 to 3,000 calories. My maintenance has moved up. I've recalculated my maintenance over the last few weeks because I was eating at what was my maintenance calories of 3,200 when I got down to 215 because I wanted to stay there, and I kept dropping weight. So I thought, well, my maintenance is higher than what it was when I started, and sure enough, I've calculated my maintenance now is 3,500 to 3,600. So I've had a 350 to 400 calorie gain in my maintenance calories, and I've lost 40 pounds. And it wasn't all fat too. I mean, if I use my body fat scale, I use one, I got it from Amazon. It's called a Renfro. Inexpensive, it's like $30. It's basically the same thing as one of those expensive fit scales, probably, you know, some knockoff made in a factory over there after they stopped running the other one that everybody buys. They just make this one. It looks just like the other one. Anyway, I don't think they're the most accurate things in the world, but they are a good tool. When I first started this, my scale said that my body fat percentage was 18%, and now it says I'm 14.8 as of today. And I think the scale is off. I actually think I'm a little bit lower than that. I'm not one of these guys that thinks I'm super lean. You know, I ran into a kid at the gym the other day, a young guy. He was obviously getting ready for a bodybuilding show. He was in the locker room with his phone out, and you know, he was going through all these what are called mandatory poses for a bodybuilding show. He was doing a front double bicep and, you know, a side chest shot and so forth, and, you know, basically taking pictures of himself. And so I asked him, I said, hey, are you getting ready to come for a show? And he said, yeah, I can't remember what he said, 6-8 weeks out from the Rocket City or something like that. And I said, oh, okay, good. What are you weighing now? And he told me what he weighed, and I want to say it was right around 190. And I said, what are you wanting to get down to? And he said, well, you look like you're ready for the show. And I'm not ready for a show, but I would say I was 2 or 3% leaner than him. He was probably a true 14 or 15, and I'm probably a 13. And he thought his scale was telling him he was 9, and he wasn't 9. Because if you're 9, you have a six pack. Like the bottom 2 abs are, for most people. Some people store their fat weird, but he didn't look like that. So anyway, young guy, I didn't have the heart to tell him, like, you know, you think you only have 10 more pounds to lose, but if you want to be ripped, you got 20 more pounds to lose. So anyway, I think my scale's off by a tiny bit. Mine says 14.8. I think I'm probably a true probably about 13%. It's irrelevant. I decided that I was happy with where I was at 215 and wanted to stay there. And I've kind of reevaluated and said, you know, I think I'm just going to see, because it's not hard to do. I think I'm just going to go back into a 10% deficit and see if I can't go down to 205, which I'm sure I can, because as of this morning I was 213.2, so I dropped a half pound yesterday, and still ate my pint of Haagen-Dazs and all the other food, and I've been in a tiny deficit, about a 200, maybe a 300 calorie deficit today. I still have room for a pint of Haagen-Dazs, so I'm going to have it after this video, and I expect I'll lose another 0.2 of a pound, and then it'll just keep going. And so in maybe 3 or 4 weeks I will have dropped another 8 pounds, and I'll be 205, and we'll see what that looks like. But it's not really important. The important thing is get rid of the polyunsaturated fat, guys. If for nothing else, it's bad for you, extremely bad for you. I'm going to do a whole other video on why polyunsaturated fat is bad for you, get into more of the details about it. And then I'll also do another video on why saturated fat is actually good for you. I know, like, how can this be? We've all been lied to our whole lives. So it's really crazy, the things that we've been told and led to believe by the food industry, by the medical industry. And I'm not saying that the people in the medical industry are purposefully trying to harm you. I'm saying that they, believed some really flawed studies from way back when, and everybody's been sticking with it ever since. So, it wasn't until recently, just not too long ago, that, the American Heart Association was telling everybody to eat Crisco for 30 years, and then they finally said, oh, trans fats are bad for you, and then they banned them. So, anyway, point is, they can tell you something's good for you for 30 years, and then they can reverse their opinion. I think that polyunsaturated fat is, at some point in the future, going to be on the chopping block, but it is a multi-mega billion-dollar industry, so don't look for that happening anytime soon. But if you want to be healthy, I'd say get rid of the polyunsaturated fat and start eating more saturated fat. And if you're like everybody else that I have turned on to this, you'll start dropping body fat, and your biomarkers that you have, at least everybody that I've helped, they're getting better. Blood pressure, better numbers, blood sugar response, better cholesterol numbers, better, So anyway, that's it for this episode. So that's kind of what I eat in a day, and I'll leave it with you. And if you like this video, please click subscribe and share it with some other people. Thanks. See you in the next video.